I'm Dr. Duke, and we're joined now today by William Bryant. And William Bryant is somebody we need more of. He is a concerned parent, in this case from Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's paying attention to what's going on in the public schools. And because of that, he helped make a big difference in a recent situation in Spartanburg.
The video that you guys did earlier covering the story of what we were having going on in Spartanburg really is what kind of made the awareness come to the situation. So I really appreciate you guys covering that story and bringing some light to it.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll talk about what we ended up doing. We just responded to you. So tell the listeners out there who aren't familiar, what was going on in Spartanburg schools that really came to your attention, and people from South Carolina, you reached out to us. What was the situation there in South Carolina?
Yeah, so basically what happened is a teacher sent me an email that had come from someone at the district, their diversity and inclusion officer. And the email really disturbed her. And we got the email from a lot of other teachers as well who were really confused and disturbed about an email that what it did is basically merged in LGBTQ curriculum into Black History Month lessons that were forwarded out to all the teachers in the school district. And so we got that, and with the confusion from the teachers and things like that, we had a lot of questions.
Yeah, it is a big deal. We've talked about this in the past, how LGBTQ propaganda is really taking advantage of Black Lives Matter curriculum. It's horning in on Black History Month. It was really pretty shocking, some of the things that we saw, how the LGBTQ stuff had co-opted Black culture for Black History Month. That's the thing that kind of bothered me. I've seen the LGBTQ creep into all sorts of aspects of your kids' curriculum, but especially using that during Black Lives Matter seemed to me a bit out of bounds, especially when you consider the fact that African Americans as a whole are generally less supportive of LGBTQ than even white and Hispanic families. Right. There's a lot more traditional values there. I would imagine that's especially true with African Americans living in a state like South Carolina.
Well, and especially when you think about here in South Carolina, 30 to 40% of our schools are African American. So, it's a large segment of the school population. And so I believe it really was concerning to them, but it's such a sensitive topic that nobody knows what to say.
Well, right, because to question why it's doing here or what purpose it's serving during Black Lives Matter, Black History Month, that is akin to, in some people's minds, challenging the very existence of LGBTQ people, which of course it's not. We don't do any of these groups favors by refusing to question them because we're afraid that we might be canceled for it. So talk about what happened. So we did a piece on that. Alex Newman, of course, for the Newman Report, he and I had a great interview about this, and we pointed out a lot of the problems with this that you had seen, that many grassroots South Carolina parents had seen. Why are we using a historically important moment, Black Lives Matter, the Black History Month? Why are we taking that where we have serious history we can teach kids, things that we can teach kids about civil rights struggles, about the plight and the successes, the advancement of African Americans in this culture? Why are we using that to import LGBTQ ideology, especially when most schools across the country already have at least a month devoted to LGBTQ studies? So what happened internally in the school, and what happened, how did the pressure come to bear on this?
Well, all of those were great questions that I had as well. And the district, basically, their first instinct was to ignore the problem and to just basically not cause any stir of any one side. They were getting lots of emails and communications from pro-LGBTQ groups that thought this was a great idea. And so they really, number one, the person who sent this email out, it wasn't sent with proper verification. And so the district told me that this email, had it been properly vetted, would not have gone out, and it shouldn't have gone out. But now that it was kind of out there, they really didn't want to ruffle too many feathers. So their response to me was, this isn't something that is curriculum. It's one person who sent it out. And basically, we're kind of embarrassed that it's now causing this sort of stir.
Yeah, that's all well and good. It may have happened that way. It may have been a personnel boo-boo, but they're bothered by it, by the fact that it got out. What they're basically saying to you is, had it never gotten out that way, you wouldn't have known we're doing it. And that's what's so alarming about dealing with the public schools. The last thing they will do is own up to things. They're going to go through you know your school district, your school district better than I do. I don't want to cast aspersions where I don't have proof. I can simply tell you that across the country we see this happen all the time. It's always a personnel issue. It's always a mistake. It's not part of our official curriculum, but they won't turn around and disavow that it's happening in the schools because they can't. Because the kids are coming home with that information. The kids are coming home and telling their parents what they learned. And so I assume that they gave you no further answer about how the two got mixed. How did Black History Month become Black LGBTQ Month?
No. I mean, what you said was exactly accurate. It was a one-off kind of rogue person that did this. Now, I do believe that had we not spoken up and brought attention to it, well, number one, had a teacher not shared it, and so that person spoke up. But number two, had we not created a website, created a Facebook page to bring awareness, and created a campaign that actually I created a petition on the website that sent an email to all the school board members with the petition in there saying, we don't want this. We're parents and we don't want this. And that kind of attention very early on, I think kind of spooked and scared them. But had we not said anything, who knows where that would have gone from there? Because I think even if it's not a district thing, they're so afraid of being anti any of this stuff that they don't want to say anything bad to the person who sent this out.
How did your school board react to the petition? Did you talk to anybody specifically on the board?
They're not having public school board meetings right now, so that was a little tough point. But I did get some communications back for them saying that they really appreciated us reaching out. And, they, I guess, didn't know enough about the situation themselves to really respond. So I've got follow-up meetings with them as well.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many school boards I've talked to that said the same thing. We would bring them information. They're the school board. They're the elected citizen watchdogs who are supposed to be overseeing all of this, and they had no idea it was even happening. The schools, the degree to which the school system freezes out even the elected school boards from some of this information is staggering. Well, what turned the tide then? What eventually happened that, in your mind, made them think twice about this?
Well, I believe it was really the recognition that this program gave, showing that there was some, this could really get out of hand if they didn't really stop this immediately, not only from, like I say, us, there are other groups who are really wanting to come in. It really made me remember back when we had the drag queen story hour at the public library, and we had that happen in our town. Many people said, oh, that'll never happen here. And I said, oh, this kind of stuff will never happen in my schools. But here we are with it. And so it really reminded me too much of that. And I think seeing the public outrage of that event, I believe they saw that same sort of outrage coming to this because we were speaking up and we were speaking out and we weren't going to let it happen.
I honestly think, to be honest with you, I think you won this because we were able to make a legitimate claim, right? That you are taking time away from the study of African American history, that you're taking time away from Black History Month to introduce this stuff. I'm afraid that if this was just another month and it was just primarily white kids who were getting this indoctrination, I don't think the schools would have budged, or they wouldn't have budged as much. What gave us leverage in this, I think, is one group that was considered very progressive, the LGBTQ, was horning in on the time that should have been devoted to another group, that Black History Month. So without that, I don't know. I honestly don't know that you would have been able to push this back, because clearly LGBTQ sourcing, LGBTQ textbooks, LGBTQ lesson plans, the normalization of LGBTQ lifestyles is going on in South Carolina schools. And I guarantee I'm sure it's going on in Spartanburg schools, no matter what you think about them.
Well, the thing is, really, we have some protections in South Carolina where these topics are supposed to be addressed in a specific manner, and they can't discuss alternative lifestyles like this without some approval. But the thing is, what I became aware of is the parents have to actually step in and get on these committees in order to make sure this stuff doesn't make it through. So the work definitely isn't done yet, Dr. Duke. We've got some more work to do for sure. But, I think you're right with the African-American presence of the community. They really felt slighted, I think. as you know, hey, we get 1 month a year and it's the shortest month of the year and you're going to take it over with this sort of stuff. It's not the same thing. And I think that definitely was a big help.
Well, it's also white liberals thinking they can re-educate blacks, right? That white liberals, the temerity, the absolute gall of privileged white liberals to think we're going to kill two birds with one stone. We'll teach black history, and we're also going to teach those black people in our districts that they need to become more tolerant too. I mean, and it backfired. So I'm really glad we could help you. We're here if you ever need us. South Carolina is a gorgeous state. It's one of the few states in the country I'd like to live in. We want to keep it as beautiful as possible. We're here if you ever need us. Thank you so much for being an aware and an activated citizen with moms and dads, with kids of his own, with families to look out for. If more people do what you do, the more we can do what we do, and the more we have a chance to push back. Thank you so much for your time. We're here if you ever need us.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Most of you know our show is being censored by big tech.
While this makes it harder to meet the cost of producing the show, that's part of it. It also demonstrates that we must be having tremendous success, or they wouldn't bother to try to shut us down.
If you like hearing truth and common sense with a love for freedom, please join the Patriot Club with a one-time $99 tax-deductible donation. And you'll get this sweet vessel of joy as part of a thank you for joining the Patriot Club.
Etched with the American flag and the words freedom never tasted so good.
All you have to do is visit patriotclub.us and become a Patriot member today.
That's patriotclub.us. Thank you and God bless.